guys, welcome to this week's edition of the Coffee and Hero Show. Now your host is always Alan, shorter hair version of course, had to happen. Just welcome you to the show this week. Going to be covering this week is beginning the 20th of June, going to be covering the new releases out this week, the variants that have come into the store, what's on my pull list, all sorts of things, a little bit of TV and comic news as well. I mean, we'll always kick things off with the store itself. We're coming off the back of a nice busy week last week. Last weekend was good for, all facets of geek culture, if you will. We had QCon last weekend in Belfast. We had Enniskillen Comic Fest as well, which of course showcased the talents of the likes of Garth Ennis and PJ Holden, Declan Shelby, for example. It's really, really good at the moment. There seems to be more and more events coming around. Obviously, we had our Ram signing the week before. There's signings starting to pop up all over the place. And as I say, it's a great time in Belfast to be a fan of comics, to be a fan of geek culture, and there's plenty of stuff about, So, I mean, we always endeavour to make the store as good as possible and, get new stuff in left, right and centre as well. So, as I say, it's a good time to be a geek. In terms of the store itself, just the usual stuff in the last week, been bulking out those back issue days. I've been focusing a bit more on DC. I've got as far as E in terms of new stuff. Now I've got as far as G. Green Lantern will be the next stuff that I'm going to be focusing on the rest of this week. So keep an eye out for that. Top up the Marvel ones as well, because the single issues are selling really well at the moment. I mean, don't forget, of course, that a lot of the single issues are listed on the website as well, just www.coffeeandheroes.com. So you can always check out there as well. Hopefully got one or two podcast interviews on the way lined up as well, just finalising details on those from some top writers in the game. We're working at the moment as well on getting another signing into the store before the end of this year. So yeah, it's all go, no quit, to quote the great Harry Stamper from Armageddon. Ask your parents. And yeah, just again trying to get everything in place. Will be a father hopefully this time in about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, we shall see. So big life changes coming, but just want to make sure the store is looked after as well. So yeah, that's everything with the store itself. I mean, in terms of the comic news and stuff this week, there's quite a lot to look at, and a lot of that is because the previews have started to drop in the last couple of days for what's coming out in September. So as always, just in case you're not familiar with it, the idea of the previews catalog is to give comic stores a sense of what's coming out soon. They can then pass that on to customers, get them excited, keep them informed about what's coming up next. As you know, we always do a previews podcast with that, going through the DC book, the Marvel book, the indie books, and I'm doing our best to keep you guys, as I say, informed, picking out what we find is the best. Previews boards as well, and store are always there, previews books are always there. I feel like I'm a broken record sometimes saying this stuff, but pre-orders are so important to comic stores. Gives them a sense of what to order, quantity wise, making sure you don't miss out on stuff. So pre-ordering is always the most effective way forward. You can always look up Newsarama. Newsarama will always break down the lists of solicitations as well, again into DC, Marvel and indie stuff. So you can have a look there, or as I say, if you're popping into the store, the hard copy books are there as well. But for your own convenience, you can always have a little look at the books online if it comes to it, and just drop us a message if anything, interests you. So, I mean, moving away from that kind of stuff and into, bits and pieces that made the news this week, I suppose I should preface by saying, I finally watched all of Moon Knight. I really enjoyed it. I thought the first 3 issues were very exposition heavy. Tone was a little bit uneven. I do think that they made the Stephen Grant character maybe a bit too comedic in the beginning. But as the show went on, I thought it found its footing really, really well. Episodes 4 and 5. It's amazing. It actually follows a very similar path, I think, to Loki, in that the first couple of episodes were all very heavily exposition based. Then once it settles into its routine, episodes 4 and 5 were the standouts. It was the same with Moon Knight as well. And then episode 6 finishes off in a way that does leave you wanting a little bit more. I don't know if Oscar Isaac signed up for any more, so we'll have to certainly keep an eye on that. But I thought he was really good in the role, and the design was great, the imagination was brilliant, and if nothing else, it really made me want to read Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood's run again, because certainly from episode 4 onwards, it leaned very, very heavily on that. So we've got copies of it in the store, so if you fancy doing a bit of catch up on that, that's the way to go. So finish that off. Obi-Wan, I think the last episode hits this week, so that'll probably be the next show that we do go on to. Again, just want to watch sort of one show at a time. But But yeah, away from that and back onto the comics side of things, there was the sad news this week or towards the end of last week that, Eisner Award winning legendary artist Tim Sale passed away. And, this year sucks for comic creators passing away. We've already had George Perez, we already had Neil Adams. Tim Sale had a big influence on me. The Long Halloween is one of the single best Batman works out there. It's one of those titles that really shows how DC or Marvel can break away from that house style. I mean, Tim Sale's style is very, very, very different to that house style. It's very heavily stylized. It's lots of shadows, lots of darkness, muscular characters, and his redesigns of a lot of the villains in the Long Halloween's phenomenal, because Long Halloween deals with the holiday killer, and you're introduced to every villain throughout Batman lore. I mean, his Joker is iconic with the huge big teeth and the pointed chin. He draws a really alluring and sexy Catwoman, and Selina. You can see the Bruce Selina stuff there. A really horrific looking Two-Face. But away from that, of course, he did great work at Marvel. Did stuff for Daredevil Yellow, Spider-Man Blue, Hulk Grey, Captain America White. Just genuinely one of the best artists in the game. And it's a real shame that he passed away. He was admitted to hospital and then just passed away a few days later, unfortunately, at the much too young age of 66. I met him a few years ago. I was over at London Comic Con and I got him to sign a Long Halloween issue, and it's one where Bruce is standing by his parents' graves. And I asked him about, how good it must feel that, his work is obviously so highly appreciated that even Christopher Nolan adapted loads of elements to The Dark Knight from The Long Halloween. And his response was actually very, very dry. It was a case of, I don't really like those movies. His reasoning was that he says he likes Batman to be a dark detective. He doesn't like him saving the world and all this kind of stuff. And we chatted a little more, and I said about how The Dark Knight was essentially Batman chasing the Joker around Gotham. It wasn't a save the world type story. Rises is, but we didn't get onto that. But yeah, just a lovely guy to have a chat with, and I have that signed issue, framed. It was already special to me, but maybe even more so now. But yeah, rest in peace, Tim Sale. Genuinely one of the best to ever do it. So, but looking at comic sides of things as well, there was a couple of auctions this week, and another of my favorite ever Batman artists, my favorite ever Batman story, The Dark Knight Returns. They were selling the original cover to it, and the previous record for a piece of Batman original art was $600,000. The previous paid for a piece of Miller's art. They sold a page of original art from The Dark Knight Returns for around $450,000. So they were selling the original page for the cover. That iconic Batman jumping through the storm, lightning strikes, silhouette. Iconic, instantly recognizable. And it sold for over $2 million. I promise it wasn't me that bought it, but God, I wish I could afford it, because I've got every other variation of The Dark Knight Returns. But yeah, there was a lot of big items went. You had the Jim Lee triple gatefold cover for Batman 619 during the Hush storyline. It sold for over $500,000 as well. There was a highly graded copy of All-Star Comics number 8, which is the first appearance of Wonder Woman. It sold for a record $1.62 million as well. I mean, it's the latest in the string of record-breaking comic sales. It's 8 times this year alone a comic has sold for over $1 million. You had Superman number 1, Action Comics number 1, Marvel Comics number 1, Captain America Comics number 1, Fantastic Four number 1, and of course, my grail, should I ever get the chance, 2 copies, not just 1 copy, but 2 copies sold this year of Detective Comics 27 as well. So, it just goes to show there's money in them that are comics. So, some big sales there. Moving along, we have the news that, we obviously talked about how Marvel had lost the license to Conan, one of those sort of established, historic franchises. Well, they've got another one just back. So they've got the Planet of the Apes, and they're headed back to Marvel Comics in early 2023. So the press release basically stated Marvel Entertainment announced the Planet of the Apes franchise is returning to Marvel Comics with all new stories starting in early 2023. The legendary science fiction franchise has spanned over 5 decades with media including comics, books, television series, video games, and toys. And they showed off a little bit of preview art for it as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on, and obviously future previews books will have that involved. Another probably unsurprising development was, I've talked about this before, about how digital comics or digital first comics, they'll inevitably find their ways into hard copies, I find. Dark Horse have been very good at printing graphic novels. We recently had Dark Horse printing the single issues of We Have Demons, Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo's story. And now it's been announced that Donny Cates and Rand Stegman, of course, so well known for their Venom run, Keenan Black, and so on and so forth, they've been doing a series called Vanish. And it was originally on their Substack, but it's now going to launch in print for Image Comics, and it's going to be in September as well. So, this is a great thing to see. I mean, of course, these guys are brilliant at hyping up their titles, so they make it sound great. I mean, Rand Stegman says it's the most exciting thing he's ever drawn. I mean, that's a big statement given the whole Marvel universe he drew through King and Black and through Absolute Carnage and so forth as well. So, but yeah, it's sick and tired of all these young adult stories about magic and wizards and destiny and love, blah, blah, blah. Well, good news, we are too. So we made Vanish to answer the one question we've all been asking. What if magic was metal? You're a few years late there, boys. Snyder and Capullo right there. Anyway, this is a project that Rand and I have been secretly building and working on quietly in the background for years now, and we cannot wait to unleash it on you. And the fun part for us is, well, pay attention closely. Like the reveal of any great magic trick, you'll never see this one coming. So, Rand Stegman said, Donny and my goal was with this project was to create something that we could never do at Marvel, and we've succeeded at that. So keep an eye out for that. That'll no doubt be in the new previews book. I see the solicitations are already doing their best to make me order millions of copies, because there are incentive covers from the likes of Ed McGuinness, Greg Capullo, Daniel Warren Johnson. Yeah, damn you. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. That is going to be launched in September. That is from Stegman and Cates. That is Vanish. Tim Drake is getting his own Robin series soon as well. This is going to be the first solo series for Tim Drake since 2011's Red Robin. So Tim Drake's a character I've never cared for. I make no secret of it. I've never read a really good Tim Drake run. My favourite parts involving Tim Drake in comics are normally ones where he's getting beaten up. Damien's introduction, for example, during Grant Morrison's run, where he takes Tim down like he's nothing. The most recent issue of Task Force Z, where Jason Todd refers to him as the boring one when asked what was his unique thing for being a Robin. But yeah, this is going to be a new series. It's going to be written by Megan Fitzmartin with art by Riley Rossmo. Now, the thing is, Tim Drake is going to be introduced into Chip Zdarsky's Batman run, kicking off at 125, of course. So I'm more than happy to give the character a chance. I've just never read anything iconic with him. So I will keep an eye for it though, and I will give it a go, because as we all know, I'm a massive mark for anything Batman. So one to look forward to there. And then yeah, as I say, just keep an eye on Newsarama, and you'll be able to check out all the solicitations for what is coming out soon. So that's pretty much it for the news this week. So we will get on to what's new into the store, what's on my pull list, variant covers, all that good stuff. So we'll kick things off with the variant covers, and there's a good chunk of them this week, all labelled, all ready to go. So we kick things off. There's a new Black Adam series launches this week. I should preface this actually just by saying that I had a fun week this week in terms of the delivery. And it's not to do with Diamond, it's to do with the delivery company. They seem to, I don't know whether they threw boxes all over the place or they moved around in the back or what, but we ended up with quite a substantial amount of damages. So there will be some titles this week that we don't have as many of that I would like. We won't get top-ups until next week, for example. So just to preface that, because I was reminded, because one of the titles that was damaged quite a bit was Black Adam. So there's a new Black Adam series launches this week. Now the variants came through fine. And this one is by Rafa Sandoval. So cardstock cover as always with regards to all DC variants. So that's a new one this week. I've got a series of Nightwing ones here. I've got 3 in total. So I first of all have the Jamal Campbell cardstock variant for Nightwing. This is issue 93. We also have a DC Pride one this week, which is from Nick Robles as well. But then we also have the 1-25 going out, the retailer incentive by Serge Acuna as well. So 3 different variants in for Nightwing this week. We also have Marvel Voices Pride #1 this week, and with it comes a really class looking variant, as you would expect, because anything Jem Bartel does is always great. So you have the Marvel Voices Pride Jem Bartel variant cover. We also have a new series this week, Miles Morales, Spider-Man and Moon Girl, and this is the variant cover for it. This is done by Peach Momoko. Slight departure from her usual style, although definitely elements of her style there as well. We have Moon Knight out this week, issue 12. The variant for this is done by Scan as well, so a nice one. We have Silver Surfer Rebirth #5 out this week as well. And with this, we have a Miko Suyon Skrull variant cover, which is rather nice. We have Arrowsmith Behind Enemy Lines #6 out this week, and we have the Wanyo Garrido variant cover for that as well. Last issue in that series, I believe. Probably my favourite variant of the week is for Bloodstained Teeth #3 from Christian Ward and Patrick Reynolds, and that is one done by Tradd Moore, who of course did such fantastic trippy work in Silver Surfer Rebirth with Donny Cates. We also have Something Is Killing the Children variants. They've been doing these die-cut variants. The first couple have all been Erica Slaughter. It's nice to see a different character being showcased this time. And again, we've got the 2 different die-cut ones. We've got the bloody variant and we've got just the plain normal. And then one to finish off, it's kind of a variant, kind of a facsimile, kind of a reprint. It's Spawn #1, but what they've done is they've re-released it. Full reprint of issue 1 with a blank sketch cover as well. Now, normally with blank sketch covers, you can take them off and the original cover will be there. That's not the case with this one. It is blank sketch. So if you ever meet Todd McFarlane and fancy paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars, you can get him to draw something on your Spawn book. So those are all in this week. Another thing I should mention just before I jump into what came in this week and my own pull list, we've got a few different signed items going into the store this week as well. So when Ram was over here, he was kind enough to sign some extra copies for us, just in case you didn't make it down. So we have signed copies of Many Deaths of Lila Starr. We have gold signed copies of Aquaman Andromeda #1 as well. And then I mentioned Dennis Skillen, just in case you didn't get down to it. One of the things being launched there was the Battle Action 2022 annual. So we've people working on this such as Garth Ennis, Kevin O'Neill, John Higgins, Chris Burnham, PJ Holden, Keith Burns. And what we did was we managed to secure a number of signed copies of the annual. So you've got Garth Ennis' signature there, PJ Holden, you got Keith Burns, you got Mike Dory there as well. So again, a very limited number of signed copies in store, but those will all be going out this week. So next we will move on to my pull list. So remember, as always, this is my pull list, but there are of course other titles out this week as well. So kick things off with Batman the Knight. So we're up to issue 6 of 10. This is the Chip Zdarsky and Carmine Giandomenico exploration of a younger Bruce Wayne, just as he's sort of learning all of his skills that he will then utilize to become Batman. I've actually got a pack of issues 1 to 5 going out this week as well. So if you want to play catch up on Batman the Knight before the new issue this week, that'll be available in store as well. We have Catwoman 44 this week, which is just an absolutely glorious variant. Jenny Frisson, of course, I've been collecting Catwoman variants for a long, long time, but this is definitely up there with the best. We did have some spare ones this come in as well. I must have just forgot to put them with the variants when I was doing that little section, but if you like the look of that, we do have some extras. Gorgeous colors, gorgeous art. Also out this week is The Flash 78.3, so on my pull list because I want to read all the Dark Crisis stuff. So Dark Crisis tie in this one. Flash always has an important role in these Crisis events, so I see no reason why this will not follow suit. Another one in this week from Peter David and Alan Robinson with Mike Spicer on colours. Mike Spicer is the colorist where all of Daniel Warren Johnson stuff, so you know it's going to be good. Is New Fantastic Four, so brand new #1 this week. You've got a bit of a legacy team here with Ghost Rider, Hulk, Spider-Man and Wolverine on that. Also out this week is a Moon Knight issue 12. So this is Jed Mackay, Alessandro Capuccio continuing with art. And again, easily one of Marvel's best titles, I think, at the moment. Next up, we have Punisher War Journal Blitz. So this is done by Torunn Grønbekk, who we recently chatted to in the podcast. Highly recommend going back and listening to it. Wonderful creator. And it's Jesus Medina on art for this one as well. So these tend to be a series of one-shots, the War Journal stuff. It is linked to the current run, but it's not essential. But it will give more depth to the series as well. Next up, we have Silver Surfer Rebirth. We're on issue 5, so 5 of 5. The 2 runs, of course, Mars and Lim. And again, just been a nice little throwback series, this. And it finishes up this week with issue 5. Bloodstained Teeth is also this week. So we have Christian Ward, Patrick Reynolds continuing on their brilliantly dark and funny vampire tale about how expensive it is to live forever. Another title that I really enjoyed issue 1 of. I think we've 1 or 2 number 1s left. But issue 2 is this week. This is from Kyle Starks and Artrum Toplin and Lee Lockridge on colours. This is called I Hate This Place. Or there is a more vulgar version of it called This Place. But I really enjoyed the first issue of this haunted house vibe stuff, but they can't get to if you stay in the house. It's more a haunted grounds story, if you will. But I thought that was brilliant. Next up is Newburn number 8. So Chip Zdarsky, Jacob Phillips continuing on with their mob drama. Again, some of the best characterization in comics at the moment. We have Rogue Sun up next. So we're now as far as issue 5. This has flown by and it's been one of my favorite series. You know, Ram Parrott, able on art, expands out that Radiant Black sort of superhero image universe. And as I say, really enjoyed Rogue Sun so far. We have the next issue of Scott Snyder and Tony S. Daniels' Nocterra. So we're up to issue 11 here. So we're approaching the end of the second arc here. And again, this has been just great the whole way through. Action-packed, some great horror moments, great dialogue. But speaking of great horror, back this week, and again, I'm so happy about this, we have the Silver Coin. So again, Silver Coin's always a series of one-shots. Same artist, Michael Walsh, who created the series, but a different writer each time. And this time, it's James Tynion IV. Lending his writing skill to that. Next up, we have Spawn. I just mentioned it there in my variant section. So again, perfect reprint of Spawn number 1 going all the way back. It's a 30th anniversary celebration essentially. And this is the number 1, which is a blank sketch variant. Again, I doubt I'll meet Todd McFarlane, but I'll maybe meet someone cool who can do a wee scribble on it. Then we have Batman Superman World's Finest. So Green Lantern appearing in this one. Mark Waid's been doing a great job of bringing in characters from the whole DC universe to this title, but organically and naturally based on the story. Dan Moore is continuing to knock it out of the park with the art, and Tamara Bonvillain with the colours. I love this title. I think I picked issue 2 as my pick of the week in the podcast a few weeks back, and I stand by that. But this week it would be hard to choose a pick of the week just based on what I've managed to get into so far. I read these 2 titles and they were both fantastic examples of just great comic superhero storytelling. So first of all, you have The Amazing Spider-Man. So Zeb Wells continuing with this new recent relaunch and John Romita Jr. on art. This is possibly the best art in this series I've seen from Romita Jr. in years. It is fantastic. There's so many fight scenes. There's lots of use of shadows and smoke, and you have to read it really, I suppose, but I absolutely adored this issue. It's the best issue of Amazing Spider-Man so far. And it was equally as good as the latest Nightwing, issue 93. So once again, Tom Taylor, Bruno Redondo, they continue to knock this series so far out of the park, it's unreal. I know there's been a little bit of Twitter hatred this week, and I don't know why Tom Taylor engages in it so much. He always has a good answer, but just let the work talk for itself, because this screams absolute quality, and it is DC's best titles. And again, it pains me to admit that. But yeah, that's my pull list. This week, again, there are some other titles beyond what's there coming out this week as well, but that's just what I'm going to be dipping into. But we've got the graphic novel side of things as well. So just to show you what came in new this week, some brilliant graphic novels in this week, some great stuff that I've read through myself, an original graphic in there, some nice hardcovers, plenty to cover. So we'll kick things off with Batman The Adventures Continue. So we're on the season 2 of this. Alan Burnett, Paul Dini, Rick Brochet, Ty Templeton, mostly doing the art there. So this covers 1 to 7 of what was season 2. I mean, I've loved this. It's basically an extension of the animated series. The art suits perfectly. It introduces new elements. As you can see here, the Court of Owls are introduced into the Batman Animated Adventures universe. So again, all in one place. I think we have the first season over there as well. Highly recommended. Next up is Cross to Bear. This was a cool series from Aftershock Comics. It was one of those ones where it was all fictional literary characters all coming together to chase after Jack the Ripper. I thought this was really, really good. It was from a couple of creators who I didn't know too well, Marko Stojanovic and Sinisa Banovic as well. So taking a journey to the Wild West on a quest to track down the infamous Jack the Ripper. But yeah, a lot of fun that. Speaking of a lot of fun, and easily one of the best titles of the week is Crimson Cage. This is the Wrestling Meets Macbeth series from John Lees, Alex Cormack, who of course did Sync. There's all 5 issues in one. Cannot recommend that enough. Simultaneously blends great wrestling storytelling with great horror storytelling and great character work. Next up, we have the 3rd graphic novel of Kanto. So we're up to volume 3 of this. This one is called Lionhearted. This contains the complete 6-issue miniseries of that. We have always been big fans of Kanto, and this is absolutely no exception. Continues to be some of the best storytelling about. A few more volumes of Walking Dead as always. Again, trying to make sure we have the entire run on the shelves there for anybody late to the party. So in this week is volumes 9, 11, 15 and 20. Next up we have the latest volume of Mighty Morphin. This is part of the double act, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Ram Parrott and Marco Renna on this. Ram Parrott of course doing such great work with Radiant Black now. So this is covering issues 13 to 16 of that. We've got a good new Ghost Rider series in this week. So Ghost Rider, The Return of Blaze. So this essentially contains a couple of different one-shots all melded together, leading you into the new series. So you have Spirits of Ghost Rider, Mother of Demons, Keenan Black Ghost Rider, Return of Vengeance as well. So some really good stuff there for fans of Ghost Rider. Latest Miles Morales volume. So Saladin Ahmed continuing with this. We're up as far as volume 7. We're covering issues 33 to 36 and also Miles Morales Spider-Man Annual. So this works in a lot of the Beyond stuff that obviously worked with the main Spider-Man title as well. Latest volume of Nightwing is out this week. So volume 1 always sells out and we always have to keep reordering back in. Now we have volume 2, and volume 2 pretty much focuses on the Fear State stuff. We also have the Nightwing 2021 Annual in here, which was a brilliant story for Nightwing and Red Hood. And then you've also got the Nightwing Batgirls feature story from Urban Legends number 10. So we're continuing on with the Tom Taylor love in here and up to volume 2 of Nightwing. Back in stock this week, I'm delighted to say, is the first 3 volumes of The Punisher by Garth Ennis. So this is the Punisher Max series. This is back when Marvel had the Max Comics label allowing more adult stories to be told, and Ennis took that and ran with it. So, as I say, first 3 volumes here. This essentially covers right up to the 49th issue. So, very comprehensive. You're talking around 17, 18 issues a book, and some of the best Punisher storytelling around. Next up, we have Maria Lovett's Porcelain. So, Maria Lovett's been doing some really interesting stuff recently. She did Faithless with Brian Azzarello. This was a creator-owned series done through Ablaze Comics, and it was 5 issues in total. Really nice hardcover edition, and it comes with the complete cover gallery and bonus material as well. Definitely one of the big ones this week is The Last Ronin, hardcover as well. So Last Ronin ended up being 5 issues in total. It was all about telling a last Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, who was the last man standing, if you will, and how would they avenge what came before them. So yeah, Kevin Eastman, Peter Lord here, and yeah, just a beautiful hardcover. That nice bigger artwork that you get from the slightly larger format from Last Ronin as well. It took a long time to come out, but the edition itself is worth the wait. A couple of epic collections in next. So first of all, we have Silver Surfer Parable. So we have the likes of Stan Lee working on this, Ron Lim, John Buscema, Mobius, Steve Englehart. This contains some amazing Silver Surfer stuff. Really, really does. I can't recommend this enough. Yeah, this is one of the best epic collections we've had in for any character in recent times. Next up, we have X Factor. So this is one called Afterlives. This covers X Factor 101 to 111, plus annual, some Spider-Man and X Factor issues, and X-Force issues as well. So we're up as far as volume 9. This is the mid-90s, 94 and 95. We have a new Wolverine epic collection in, which is Madripoor Knights. So Chris Claremont, Peter David as well. So this is covering Wolverine 1 to 16 from 1988. Marvel Comic Presents 1 to 10 and Marvel Age Annual. So there's a good 27 issues in there of some classic Wolverine stuff. And then, yeah, I'd mentioned an original graphic novel as well. I'm sure this will be one of the big ones this week. And this is Clementine, Book 1. So this is from Tillie Walden, and this is essentially continuing on the story of Clementine from the Walking Dead Telltale games. So this is an original graphic novel. It's part of an imprint called Skybound Comet. It, of course, comes with the seal of approval from Robert Kirkman on the front. Tillie Walden is the future. Her boldly authentic voice brings new heights to the world of The Walking Dead. So I've no doubt that'll be a big seller this week as well. So there you have it. That is everything new into the store this week. That is my pull list. That is the variants. That is the news. Everything you come to expect on a weekly basis. So as ever, I hope it proved entertaining and useful to you. If you've ever any questions, leave them in the comments, or any suggestions for the show, work away, fire them in the comments as well. Spread the word, of course. And as ever, I'll look forward to seeing you guys all in stores soon. So new releases will be ready to go on the Wednesday. Pull lists are all done and ready to go. We'll look forward to seeing you soon. Take it easy out there, guys.